Sweets, we're going to put a pillow behind your back, okay?
I'm sorry. I know that's uncomfortable.
This is a typical face of the emerging pandemic in its more serious stages.
I'm actually going to start him on a morphine drug.
Benjamin?
Yeah, he's out of it.
In Sacramento, 10-year-old Benjamin Oback lies in critical care at UC Davis Children's Hospital.
Lord Father, please continue the blessings of healing in this boy.
His parents pray and stand vigil. For nearly 2 weeks, their son has been fighting for his life.
I feel awful. I feel like part of my soul has been crushed. It's the worst imaginable feeling to see your kid fall that quickly and to be that ill.
It had started out like the ordinary flu. Sunday, October 4th, after riding his bike, Benjamin felt out of breath.
He complained that his chest hurt.
Benjamin seemed to have a minor case of the flu. He was up and around with no temperature. I had taken Benjamin to his pediatrician Tuesday morning because he had a mild fever. His pediatrician listened to his lungs. He said his lungs are clear. I asked him about giving him Tamiflu, and he said, no, he's not that sick. He should be better by the end of the week. 9 hours later was when he took the turn for the worse and became unresponsive.
Benjamin passed out and was rushed to the hospital.
It was touch and go the first night. He's fairly well stable now, but he still has the pneumonia, and he's still on the respirator.
This isn't the normal course. Most people who get H1N1 are fine, but you don't know who's going to take a turn for the worse. That's what's so scary about it.
In Benjamin's case, the main symptom was that fluid built up on the outside of his lung rather than inside his lung, and I think that's probably why his pediatrician didn't catch it with a stethoscope, because the fluid on the outside doesn't gurgle when you breathe. I think the fluid outside caused his lung to collapse and to stop functioning. He was quite truly working on just one lung for several days.
Already, H1N1 is proving far more deadly for children than seasonal flus.
When Benjamin first presented to UC Davis, he was gravely ill. He wasn't conscious, he wasn't making sense, he wasn't able to speak to us.
Hi, sweetie.
Your mama's here.
I love you.
Now he's recovered significantly, he's able to interact.
Can you hear me? Squeeze my hand.
Like Benjamin, nearly half the kids admitted to hospitals with a case of the virus wind up in intensive care.
Thank you.
Today at Children's Mercy Hospital in Kansas City, 8-year-old Grace Silva Rivera was breathing with a ventilator.
Doctor, what kind of shape was Grace in when she arrived?
When she arrived here, she was pretty ill. She needed to be supported with mechanical ventilation, a breathing tube. Her blood pressure was not good.
Her mother, a native of Puerto Rico, says Grace, already suffering from asthma, developed flu-like symptoms at the end of September.
She started with headache, and I give normally medication for that. Couple hours later, she started with high fever, 102.
So she took her daughter to a small hospital at Fort Riley, Kansas. At the time, her husband, an Army sergeant, was in Baghdad. Janira Silva says Grace was treated for bronchitis, then sent home. Despite taking medication religiously, she went downhill fast. Lungs filled with fluid, breathing troubled, toes and fingers cold, her temperature dangerously high.
What temperature did Grace have?
Grace had very, very high fever, 104.4.
After another trip to the emergency room, her mother demanded, and the hospital agreed to have Grace transferred to a bigger facility, Children's Mercy in Kansas City, 130 miles away. This medevac helicopter made the emergency trip. A respiratory test confirmed the diagnosis that doctors here suspected, H1N1.
She has a severe pneumonia. She has an underlying problem in asthma, so that makes her a little more susceptible to the more severe disease.
For the last 2 weeks, Grace's mother has stayed at her bedside nearly around the clock, praying for her recovery. Last week, the Army granted Grace's father leave from the war in Iraq to join the battle his daughter faced in Missouri.
That's the worst feeling you can ever feel. Since I was there, I never feel so scared about anything.
Grace's 8-year-old twin was also infected but did not get seriously ill. Most of the children in intensive care have underlying medical problems and exhibit severe symptoms.
If you have anything that makes you think that you've got pneumonia, so if you start breathing faster than usual, you can't get your breath, the cough that won't stop, especially in children, there's this little pallor, this gray kind of look around the mouth and with the breathing fast. And children can look anxious because they're worried about how they're breathing. That's something you need to go in and see about right away.
Across the country, emergency rooms and ICUs are already inundated.
So currently we may have up to 6 patients in our 16-bed ICU. My fear is that most of our unit beds will be full of children with H1N1.
For Benjamin, the prognosis is good after his near-death experience.
Benjamin, you're getting better. Bye, Benjamin.
His mother learned a valuable lesson along the way.
Do not think that this can't happen to your child, because it can. If I was not keeping a close eye on Benjamin, he would be dead right now.
Grace is getting better too, fighting those tubes, squeezing her mother's hand, and trying to breathe on her own. For now, these children are winning the battle that is overcoming so many who are so young. I'm Chris Bury for Nightline in Kansas City, Missouri.